It's week 3. Records have been broken, lines have been crossed, and the favourites are turning up the wick. The doldrums had not been quite the showstopper that many circumnavigators are used to. Calm areas were relatively narrow,
Voilà, le poteau noir.
although there were still the usual lightning storms and torrential downpours. The favourites were now establishing themselves at the front of the fleet. First across the equator was Thomas Royan on the newer of the two vulnerable boats, followed a couple of hours later by Charlie Dallin and Sam Goodchild.
So we've just gone across the equator. We're now in the southern hemisphere. I haven't got any alcohol, and so as an offering to Neptune, I'm going to give him some of my favourite chocolate, some Grenada chocolate, where I grew up in the Caribbean.
The next 7 boats then crossed in the space of 75 minutes. It was that tight. It was also evident that the fleet was splitting, with the leading boats catching the newer breeze sooner. No crossing of the equator is complete though without some traditional rituals.
Neptune might be a bit sick of wine and champagne and all things alcoholic, so what have I got that really shows my respect for the ocean? That shows I really want this to work. Got a cup of tea and a piece of braised date cake.
So, welcome to the South Hemisphere. Let's see if this brings us luck this year, this winter. We will hopefully be here until next year.
Woohoo! Welcome to the Southern Ocean! Ah! No, not quite. Welcome to the Southern Hemisphere, at least. The Southern Hemisphere. This is where I was born, and I'm the only sailor in this race that was born down here. And this is super cool. It's my 10th equator crossing, so that starts to be a lot. And now I get to have a little drink of rum. So this is the first time since the start of the race. And so, as tradition befits, well, it's a drink for me. That is tasty. A little drink for the boat. Enjoy that. Drink for Neptune. Now let me show you my cool little trimming system for the geeks of the sailors out there. So normally on a winch, the rope goes around the drum several times and then goes up into the self-tailing unit and then goes in here. And that means that every time that you want to ease, normally you have to take out the winch handle and then take it out of the top wrap and then ease and then put it back in. And that can be quite laborious, certainly when solo sailing, and certainly when you're trying to make regular trimming, because I am in attack mode here, trying to catch up with my other daggerboard buddies. And so what's super cool here, and this I admit, I borrowed this from Alex Thomson's boat, I saw it 4 years ago in one of his videos, is that I've got a little can cleat here with a bungee that goes down to the bottom of the boat and then out to the side. And that allows me to ease without going through the self-sailor, and then it provides enough traction that when I winch, then it works out perfectly there. So, giving my secrets away here.
Once across the equator, the leading boats were focusing on an area of low pressure that was developing off the Brazilian coast further north than usual. Catching it at the right time and the right angle was going to be crucial. There was chatter about getting aboard a conveyor belt, riding the wave of this depression as it made its way across the South Atlantic towards the Cape of Good Hope. closer to the front of the fleet you were, the more you would benefit.
I saw Jeremy Bayou this morning, and he's 8 or 9 miles up there. He said he had a little bit of a sleep in, so I found myself next to him, and then he woke up and went faster again. So I haven't seen him since, but I'm still happy. I think I'm 7th, which is, it's not as good as the first 2 weeks, but I'm in the right pack and in one piece, so that's the main thing. We're not even in the Southern Ocean yet, so it's a long way to go. It's a bit wet.
So just to explain you a bit the weather situation for the next few days, we have, this is my screen here, we have a low pressure developing here and traveling southeast this way, and we are here. And the goal is to use the north wind, northwest wind, on the north side of the low pressure, move southeast across the South Atlantic.
Last week we reported on the record-breaking feats of Nicolas Lundven and Johan Risham. Well, those records didn't last long. On Sunday, Charlie Dallin joined the action with 558.8 nautical miles in 24 hours. This was then trumped by Thomas Royal, but then Johan Risham on Paprak Arkea set a mark of 574.7 miles. All this happened in one evening as the wind angle and flat seas provided perfect record-breaking conditions. But it didn't stop there. On Wednesday afternoon, it emerged that Sébastien Simon on Groupe Dubray had driven a coach and horses through the record with a truly remarkable 615.33 miles. This is 75 miles further than the 2017 record set by Alex Thomson in the 2016 Vendée Globe, a record which still stood when this edition of the race started. To be validated, the World Sailing Speed Record Council works in cooperation with the teams and the organisers, and at this rate it looks like they're going to be in for a busy couple of months. Remarkably, all but one of the boats which crossed the start line on November the 10th are still in the race. But, like others, Alan Ruora on Hublot has had some challenges. The hydraulic pump that controls the rake of the foils had begun to leak. This compromised his ability to control the flight of the boat in foiling conditions and required a full strip down and rebuild. As Alan says, this is easier to do on your table at home. There has been much talk about two distinct fleets in the Vendée Globe, those with foils and those without. This is nothing new, as we saw the first foiling in mockers in the 2016 race. Many wondered whether this radical concept would be durable enough to make it all the way around the planet. The answer was they were, and the first 4 to finish, led by Armel Lecléache, were all sailing foiling boats. Early in the current race, the more conventional daggerboard boats of Jean Le Cam, Conrad Coleman and Violette d'Orange were close to the top of the rankings in the light downwind conditions. But now that the breeze is up and the foilers are able to sail at angles that suit them, they're off. It's no surprise then that the first daggerboard boat is more than 1,000 miles behind the leader. But modern foils are still considered to present a higher risk of incurring damage, and as Alan Ruora's experience has shown, there's more to go wrong too. The risk of hitting an unidentified floating object at 30 knots is real, and for many, that's the biggest stress. As the fleet heads further south, temperatures will start to drop. The race will then enter its next phase, with the challenging seas off southern Africa and the beginning of the Southern Ocean, as Conrad Coleman explained.
Well, I mean, that's what we really came for. The most exciting part of the race is the leg in the Southern Ocean. That's the part that I absolutely adore, because as you said, this is rare. This is a privilege to be able to come and and play in these waters, and it's just so special, and I love it so much. So I am overjoyed that in just a few days, according to the routine, we're going to have a little rendezvous with the Big Depression, and that's when the real Vendée Globe starts for me. So I'm excited.
So on Thursday night GMT, this is how the leaderboard looked as they made rapid progress southeast. Charlie Dallin, Thomas Royal and record breaker Sébastien Simon in the podium spots. Meanwhile, Jean Lecam, Louis Duc and Violette d'Orange head up the daggerboard boats. When Alex Thomson launched Hugo Boss in 2019, there were plenty who thought the team had gone too far. With no outdoor cockpit to speak of, the entire boat was sailed from down below. But as others were launched that season, it became clear that some were thinking along the same lines. And today, for the new boats, it's the norm. Hugo Boss is now Hublot, and while she was a trendsetter back then, she's had some major modifications, as her skipper Alan Ruora explained. So this was back in the day, back then, this was a breakthrough boat, wasn't it? Because it was the first of the boat to have a fully enclosed cockpit, and it all seemed very radical at the time. And now it seems to be the norm.
Exactly, it is the normal. It is. We can see a bit of difference. If you see Malaysia, for example, she's the evolution of that one, and we can see that the cockpit it's twice bigger, more like cruise sailing. Arkea Paprec, it's a bit of kind of the same positioning, but you've got some opening on the side. And this one, for me, it's the important thing. It's the cockpit. It's at the mast feet. The mast is just here, so we've got weight really low and close to the center of gravity. So when the boat was built, it was really light. So really made to do some downwind sailing. And that was the philosophy of the boat. So she was not good in other conditions, but downwind she was perfect. Really radical.
Yeah, and have you done much to her since? Have you changed much since then?
Yeah, we find out that all the races was normally beginning from upwind part, and it was really hard to be really fast downwind to catch up the others. So we modified a lot the boat. So first we put some 300 kilos on the bulb to bring some power. We put 3 more degrees of cant on the mast. We changed the sail area, sail design, more flat, some bigger sails, some smaller sails. We cut 4 meters of the bow. We cut all the ballast of the boat, and we changed all the ballast of it. The philosophy was to have some ballast really on the center of gravity of the boat, and really heavy ballast. So, like the biggest one was nearly 2 tons on one side, and really on the center. So we put now 800 liters totally on the side. So we've got more power and less weight. So the boat starts flying earlier than before. We put some foam on the back because the back of it was really deep on the water. So we put some foam to lift a little bit the back. What more? We changed a bit. It's the original foil of the boat, but we modify a bit, 3 meters long of the area, to have more curving on the foil, and I think that's it. And then the philosophy of the living room has changed too.
Right.
So we took it out a lot of part of Alex on the boat. Now it's. When people say, "Oh, that was Alex's boat," and I'm like, "Yeah, but now it's my boat." It is.
Quite right too. And does it feel like that? I mean, how many miles have you done?
I've done 6 transatlantic on it, and 4 single-handed.
Right.
So I'm really happy of what I've done, and we sailed quite a lot. I'm not sure about how many miles, but we have done around 100 days at sea per year, which is quite good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating boat. I remember the first time I came down below on this boat, I was struck by just how complex it felt. But I suppose it's still got the same controls as everybody else. But I mean, just give us a quick overall idea of how you run the boat from here. What are the main controls?
Well, it's super easy to maneuver. Okay, the visibility around it's not that good, but the maneuvering is really easy. You've got some really good blocks all around, so to maneuver, you don't feel the power of it. We've got 4 winches, which is not enough for the boat. We're missing 1 winch, but it's life. It's like this. We can't change it. So those 4 winches, they're made to have the control of all the sheets on the back of the boat. So we've got 2 tunnels on the back, and then we've got a big one that goes through the bow of the boat. So there you've got the furling system, the tack line. So all the controls are here. And then I've got all my pilot information, the loads of the boat, still having some loads everywhere, load pins, the radar, the screen here, it's used for marine charts. And then I've got a tablet on the other side with Oscar, so the camera on top of the mast. And that's it. It's just it's a super nicely built cockpit for a single-handed sailor, because you've got everything around, and even when you're sleeping, you just put your arms and you can ease a sheet, which is really cool.
And you sleep in here, so I don't see any evidence of a bunk here. But
I'm not sleeping here. I'm sleeping on the back of the boat.
Right.
We planned to put the sleeping area here, but the humidity, it's here. It's we call it the keel area, because the keel of the boat is just right here.
Right.
So you've got some water coming out from here through the cockpit. So if you sleep on top of it, you might get wet at one point, and the hatches are not 100% waterproof, because we open it and close it many times per day. So yeah, I sleep on the back, and but I spend times here. Yeah, I've got my chairs. I can sit here. I can steer the boat, but you don't steer that boat.
No.
It's like steering a truck. You don't feel anything. And after like 15 minutes, you get your arms getting longer and longer and longer, so it's pointless. And the autopilot doesn't get tired, so that's good.
Yeah. You're very, very enclosed. That was the whole concept of this boat.
Yeah.
How long did it take to get used to that? Did it feel strange to start with, to be sailing fully indoors?
The only thing that was hard for me was, well, there is 2 things. Light wind, because you don't see really outside about, small wind arriving, or you don't see it. Or start of the race. Like for example, the Vendée Globe, end of the week, they're going to be really stressful. Got 40 boats on the line, and I see, but if I need to be steering and being maneuvering at the same time, if I'm getting back in, I don't see out. So that's part of the danger. And I think I understood on that boat, but the problem of sailing on the inside, you don't feel the wind. So sometimes you're sailing, you feel that everything is going right and good. Well, you don't see the wind speed or the boat speed, and you got 35 knots, and you're still having a lot of sails out. And actually, I think that's a problem of what happened to the boat at the beginning. It was they were pushing a lot and not feeling the wind. And now I'm trying to get out every day. Anytime I can feel something that's going wrong, I just see out, and I'm not breaking that much the boat now because I feel the wind. I try to go out and feel it.
Interesting. Okay, so moving on to this event, this will be your 3rd Vendée Globe, won't it?
Yep.
What are your goals for this one? Where do you see yourself in the fleet?
I think we are 20 boats that we can pretend of winning the race. My boat is not the faster at all. It's a good boat, but it's a Vendée Globe, so anything could happen. I would love for sure to win the race. That's it's a dream. But I will be really happy if I can get to the top 10. I think it would be a great race for me in the boat. What I really want is to play with the others. I want to be on the game. And the last runs that I've done on the boat, with all the modification, I managed to sail close to the good ones. And so I would love to do all the Vendée sailing with the good ones. That's my goal. Yeah.